So I read the question, and if you have questions about the question,
Okay.
you can ask me. What is capitalism? Could you define it? Is there a difference between the terms capitalism and neoliberalism? People seem to use these two words, capitalism and neoliberalism, interchangeable. They don't make a difference.
Okay.
Could this imply a rejection of neoliberalism, but an acceptance of a reformed, more benign capitalism? The fact that could such a thing exist? Like, could a benign, reformed capitalism exist?
Okay. Capitalism is many things together, many different things together. First of all, capitalism is a mode of production founded on the difference between masters and servants. It's a mode of production based on a difference, on a exploitation that is not the classical exploitation based on a political, juridical difference, but just on a economic and social difference. You are in capitalism, you are a slave not because political laws say you are a slave. You are free exactly as the master, but it's your economic and the social condition that makes you a slave. So the form of the contract is just a fictio juris, says Marx in his work The Capital. You are a slave because of your condition, because the masters have the ways to keep life alive, the food, the means of production, and so on. And you, as a slave, don't have these things. So to keep on living, you have to work for the other class. You are not a slave of a single person. You are a slave of the class, of the opposite class. You have to be a worker for this class, first of all. So capitalism is, so to say, a mode of production based on a wage slavery. So the exploitation is typical of this way of production. Second, capitalism is based on alienation and on, Marx says, Verdinglichung, that is to say, commodification. In capitalism, the man loses his own nature because he becomes just like a thing, like a commodity. The human nature is not supposed to be like a thing, like a commodity. Man is supposed to be many different things. The man exists. The man has the opportunity to project the future, to make art, to make many different things. Capitalism forces the human nature to be just in the mode of the commodity, just to live like a free circulating commodity all around the world, in the open space of globalization. That is to say, the world like a market, with no more states, with no more rules, with no more differences. Globalization is the way of being of capitalism that becomes worldwide, that becomes the world. So globalization is not such a neutral thing. It's just the way of capitalism that becomes the world. commodification, I have said, because according to Marx's theory, we become like such as the commodities. We don't have no future, we don't have no history, we do not exist. In this meaning, I would say that we could put together Marx's analysis with Heidegger's one. In Sein und Zeit, being and time, Heidegger says that the difference between man, Dasein, man, and the things is that the things are. Dasein, man, exists. Existing means to project the future. Existing means to be different from the things. If you exist, you are a person and you have dreams, you have projects, you have a memory of your past and so on. The things, the commodities, do not exist. They are, with no past, with no future. They are. Capitalism makes us to be like commodities. Third point, capitalism is based on a, so to say, on a metaphysics of absence of any limitation. Capitalism is, so to say, the absence of any limit, of any rule. We say always in this present that we live in the deregulation. Deregulation means exactly the absence of limitations. To understand this point, we have to look back at the Greek culture. The Greek metaphysics was based on the concept of limit, metron, said the Greeks, Aristotle, Plato, every Greek. It doesn't matter the polis you look at. Every Greek had the metron as a value. Today we have completely forgotten the value of limit. We live in the time without limits. Everything without limits is the main spot of television, of newspapers. This is the mantra of the society of capitalism. Capitalism doesn't approve any form of limit. Capitalism is the way of growing without limit, is in economics. In politics is the way of putting away any kind of limitation, so to product, in order to product the one world of capitalism, without states, without nations, without borders, without ways to control the economics. In ethics, capitalism means the violation of everything that could not be violated. The only form of freedom that capitalism promises today is the violation of any kind of limit. You are free if you have always more, if you go always beyond any kind of limitation. In geopolitical terms, capitalism means the way of destroying any kind of border. Capitalism doesn't want the borders because the borders can create a political zone. That was the experience of national states, a political zone where the politics can control the economics. The globalization means the opposite. Economics control the politics. This is the way I should use to try to make a definition of neoliberalism. Today, neoliberalism means the political way of being of capitalism. Capitalism, that is a mode of production, of thinking, of existing. In Marx's words, capitalism is a mode of production, that is a mode with a, Marx said, with a structure and with a Überbau, Gramsci said, superstruttura. Neoliberalism is, so to say, a way of superstruttura, Überbau of capitalism. We could say that in the modern times we tried to so to say, to dominate capitalism, to make a control of the market. Today, with the neoliberalistic power, is the opposite. The market rules politics. We use the power of politics not to rule the market, but to set free the market from any kind of limitation. This is the point. Neoliberalism is this. So, of course, we have to fight against neoliberalism, but it's not enough. That is not enough. We have to fight against the entire mode of production, the capitalistic one. Fighting against neoliberalism without fighting against capitalism means to fight against the consequences without fighting against the causes. Of course, we have to fight against the consequences, but we have always to struggle against the causes. Capitalism cannot be reformed. Capitalism is not, so to say, sick. It is the sickness, let me say. So we have to, as Marx said, to fight against capitalism. Because if we live in the capitalistic world, we cannot be really free. This was Marx's intuition. And we have to start again from this point, I think. One of the problems today is that people think that freedom is the freedom made possible by capitalism, the free of consumerism, the freedom of the free market, and so on. We have to go against this common way of thinking. We have to think different, and we have to start again from Marx and Gramsci, I think, in order to understand what in reality is capitalism and to fight, to struggle against it.
Perfect, thank you.
Andava bene?